through some tough times against some good opponents recently. So that now leads the way to this main event. Hank Lundy, Patrick Lopez. Lundy set on erasing the memories of his stunning TKO loss last summer. He talked smack non-stop heading into that fight with the tough and rugged John Molina. He was controlling the fight. Molina caught him solid, floored him, pressed the action late, and scored the TKO. Lundy, the 27-year-old from Philly, he is now 19-1-1. And there's Patrick Lopez. He was a very good amateur fighter in Venezuela. Won the Pan Am gold, was a two-time Olympian. In fact, he beat Lamont Peterson on the way to that Pan Am gold. As a pro, he's 20-3. He's coming off a TKO loss to Tim Coleman, a fighter we're going to see in a few weeks. Prior to that, Lopez had an impressive TKO win over previous unbeaten Prentice Brewer on Friday Night Fights. Lopez and Lundy are scheduled for 10, and Teddy has the fight plan.
Final instructions.
Eddie Cotton Jr., referee for this 10 round.
All right, boxers, you both received my instructions in the dressing room. I expect you to obey my commands and protect yourself at all times. All right, I expect a good, clean fight. Let's touch gloves.
Lopez was knocked out.
10 rounds of boxing for the NABF.
You know, Joe, knocked out in his last fight, Lopez. Very difficult way to go into a tough fight off a knockout loss. You usually need a confidence builder. That's what they did in the old days. That's what they would do in the Gil Clancy days, is take you out of town and make sure mentally everything was okay.
Instead, he gets this. Hank Lundy, who's hungry himself after suffering his first loss in 2010.
Lundy is faster, and Lundy's doing just what I thought he would do. He's coming out as a southpaw. Lundy doesn't fight southpaw from the beginning all the time. He's an orthodox fighter, but just as we said in the fight plan, he might come out lefty, trying to get an edge on the lefty, trying to throw Lopez off a little bit, take that advantage of the left-handed stance away from Lopez. Now look for Lundy to slip to his left, slip the jab of Lopez, and counter with that left hand if he gets a chance. And for Lopez, well, it's not complicated. He's a stronger guy. At some point, he'll try to come forward. He'll try to counter. He's looking to counter too, Lopez, though. Don't get too surprised with that speed of Lundy. Lopez is looking to counter him a little bit. He's got experience.
Boy, Lopez stood up to that left hand from Lundy and comes back firing a right of his own.
You know, Joe, Lundy's faster, maybe a little trickier. He can go into other places. Lopez mostly in front of you, the only place he goes to. But Lopez is stronger, and he has a lot to prove here. And again, he'll try to go in that front door. He'll try to use that physical strength, I think, before the night's over on Lundy. But he's also experienced enough. This is a guy who fought in 2 Olympics representing Venezuela. He can step back, he can counter too once in a while. The only thing I'm worried about is Lopez, the bigger, stronger guy. He came in the lightest of his career. Now, most people would say, Teddy, that means he's in great shape. Yes, he is in great shape. He took this fight serious. He understands this is a career fight, a crossroads fight. But did he lose some of that strength edge by coming in that light? I know he's not going to be as fast as Lundy, but if I'm in the corner of Lopez, I want him to be stronger than Lundy. That's our chance. That's our ticket to victory.
He usually fights in the 140s. Tonight, 135. He is 2 inches taller than Lundy as well. You can see just across the back of the shoulders, that girth in the arms. He is the bigger man.
Yeah, Lundy's smaller, half his career at lightweight, half at junior welterweight. Lopez, his entire career at junior welter. Now, Lundy does have a win over southpaw and a draw with the southpaw, so he has confidence with southpaws. But again, Lundy came out here, as we talked about, saying, hey, I'm going to be a lefty for a while. I wonder when Lundy's going to switch back to that orthodox position.
Good start to our main event. Lundy, Lopez coming to the end of 1.
Watch Lundy here, but don't just watch the left. Watch the right set up the left. Watch again. We'll take another look at it from another angle. Watch the right hook. It doesn't land, but it serves a purpose. It distracts Lopez and allows that left hand, the power hand for a southpaw, to get in.
That was a clean shot landed by Hank Lundy early on in round number 1. Lopez would fire back with a right hand himself. Critical fight for both of these veterans at this stage of their career. Lopez trying to bounce back after being TKO'd. Lundy a year ago was TKO'd. He's coming off a 7-month layoff after a win in Montreal to close out last year's season finale of Friday Night Fights.
Both these fighters have been knocked out one time. But there are people out there that question the chin of Lundy. Lopez would like to be one of those people that gets a chance to question it.
He's capable of it, right, Teddy?
Yeah, he is. He's a stronger guy here. But he's more than just a walk in the front door, you know, guy that just introduces himself with a knock. He'll feint a little bit. Look, he's feinting a little bit. He doesn't want to just walk in cold. He's trying to get Lundy to commit a little bit so he doesn't walk in. He times things very well, Lopez. He landed a good right hook right there. And timing can negate speed. We know Lundy is faster, but Lopez, do not count this guy out. That's why I said in the lead up at the front or at the top that this is the kind of fight you could make an argument for both guys to win.
Reminder that the women's Final Four presented by Capital One Sunday on ESPN. Coverage is going to start at 6:30. At 7 o'clock, they'll tip between Texas A&M and Stanford. Then 9 o'clock, Notre Dame against #1 UConn. We are here in Connecticut at the Fox Theater. So many times through the years, this intimate setting has brought about very, very good fights on our air, and we have one brewing here between Lopez and Lundy.
Lundy has come off the floor to win several times. Lopez has come off the floor to win. Matter of fact, Lopez was on the floor in several fights. So a chance for both guys to get the other guy to the canvas. So both guys ultimately test the other. How do they act when they're hurt? How quick do they recover? Mickey Ward in the studio, that was one of his great qualities. And the guy that he fought so many times in those epic battles, Arturo Gatti, they recovered quickly.
Knockdown scored by Hammer and Hank.
Well, here's a chance to find out how he recovers.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right.
Now again, it was the throwaway punch that set that up. From the southpaw position, Lundy stayed in that position. It's working. It's been good for him. It was the throwaway punch, the right hand that set up that left hand. We'll take a look at that. You know, I got a question again
Don't make mistakes, Hank.
about Lopez. Comes in the lightest of his career. Did he give up that strength advantage? Now watch this replay here of the knockdown. We're going to see the left hand land. Again, that time you saw a little shaking of his shoulders. Watch Lundy. He shakes those shoulders. The right hand did not set that up. He shook his shoulders. I was wrong. The right hand did not set it up. But what he did was he did a little Jersey Joe Walcott there. He did a little Jersey Joe Walcott there where he kind of shivered those shoulders a little bit and then launched the left hand. Take another look. Watch him shimmy these shoulders. Watch Lundy. He shimmies those shoulders a little bit. And then he sets the sights on Lopez. Shimmies those shoulders. And then the left hand. That little shoulder move did just what it needed to do. It froze Lopez.
CompuBox numbers, the total punches from the last round, a 14-5 connect advantage for Lundy, scoring that knockdown there.
You know, you don't just walk in there and throw punches and land too often. There's usually a little subtle setup, and that, so far, has been a story for Lundy to land those left hands. It's going to take an army now to get in that ring to get Lundy out of that southpaw stance. I mean, it's been working for him. He's landing the left hands.
You called it early in the fight plan, and he has applied it. can see on that last exchange that Lopez was wiping at his right cheek. There may have been a clash of heads, the top of the head of Lundy to the cheekbone of Lopez, and there is some blood now streaming from his face, and he lands a solid left hand as Hank tries to escape.
Well, Lopez has some scar tissue over his right eye. He has been involved in fights where there's been head clashes, and you can see why. Lopez can be a little bit of a billy goat. He'll come right in there with that head.
That time when he opened up, Lundy filled it with a right hand. There's a left hand to the body, a right hand to the body, and then a left hand up top. Fortunately for Lopez, and it's not a good-looking cut, but it is below the eye.
Yeah, the good news is it's below the eye. It will not bleed into the eye. The bad news is it's below the eye and swelling will occur to close the eye, possibly if they don't get that end swell, that cold piece of metal on that eye to reduce the swelling. Don't count Lopez out. I know that he's been down and he's behind in this fight, but again, strong guy, very experienced amateur, 280 amateur fights. Little shop one, but I think he's got enough, to still make this very interesting.
And an offensive mindset.
An offensive mindset, and again, the experience where sometimes he won't just walk in. He'll feint a little bit. He'll look to time Lundy. You have to do that with a faster guy. And he'll go downstairs. And that's what you want to do with Lundy, I believe. Go downstairs to that body. Start to take some of the air out of those wheels.
Coming to the end of 3, active action throughout this round. When we return, Teddy's thoughts on the passing of Gil Clancy. Stay with us.
We lost Gil Clancy, another very valuable member of our family, the boxing family. He was the last of an era back in the 50s, all the way to the 70s, even the 80s. He was the top trainer, the top manager, and he was from New York, where at that time New York was still the capital of boxing. Him and Angelo Dundee, the 2 most renowned guys. And he did it like the old-timers, doctors, football players, the football players. They went on both sides. They went offense, they went defense. It wasn't all specialized. Doctors, they did operations, they did it all. It wasn't all specialized. Well, it was the same thing with Gil Clancy. He managed, he trained, and he did it at a top level. And he was a teacher. Everybody always talks about trainers having to be teachers. Well, he was literally a teacher. Graduated NYU with a master's degree in teaching. And most importantly, he was a guy that looked out for his fighters. And he was a guy who always said, you know, the most important round is the next to last round. Because a lot of fighters figure that's a round where you're going to take off a little bit to get ready for the last round. So he always told his fighters, take advantage of that. Well, Gil, you always had a good round. All your rounds were good. And now up there in the sky, that stable of fighters, they have the teacher they've been waiting for.
Well said, Teddy. Gil Clancy passing away at age 88. Worked with some of the very best that the fight game has ever seen. Round 4 here between Lundy and Lopez in the second round. Had left to the chin. And then Lundy coming forward, scored the knockdown. Lopez came back in round number 3, steadied himself consistently on the attack. Hammer and Hank showing that speed.
I'm going to say it again. This fight's not over. I have, as I would think, the great people at home probably have it, Lundy winning every round and having won 10-8 round, but Lopez still, if he can get to that body enough, if he can get this into physical quarters to kind of negate some of that speed of Lundy, he can still be here to be heard.
He's been looking for that body.
And it's the way we thought it was. It's the speed, a little bit of the cleverness. Give Lundy credit for that. Of Lundy against the strength, determination, little desperation of Lopez.
Lundy fighting southpaw. Now, Teddy, you think that strategically maybe it would suit him at some point to go the other way, just when Lopez gets comfortable with him fighting southpaw, perhaps go orthodox.
It's not broke, don't fix it. And you're right, Joe, but I'd wait
He's
until
having
Lopez.
success.
I would wait, and just as you say it, Lundy must have heard you.
Exactly.
Because he turned. He doesn't want, I guess, Lopez, as you were alluding to really settle in on anything too long. Wants to mix it up just enough to keep Mr. Lopez off balance.
See if he stays that way when we comes out for round number 5. Stay with us.
Here's a little example of Lopez, not just a walk in the front door guy. Watch. He feints a little bit. He knows Lundy's quick, so he's giving a little feint. He's looking for the right spot, and there's the spot. He gets a jab out of Lundy, and then he says, okay, now I can move forward a little bit.
Two-time Olympian is Lopez. A good-looking prospect who was unbeaten until last year, Lundy. He had a dominating win on Friday Night Fights last spring and then ran into John Molina, was winning the fight, got caught, and now coming back here to open up his 2011 against Patrick Lopez.
You know, throughout the career of Lopez being a southpaw, he's been hit with a lot of right hands. And early on, he didn't have to worry about right hands, only left hands, because Lundy wasn't in the orthodox position where the right hand would be a threat. But now Lundy is. And you just wonder how long, at least I wonder how long, until Lundy starts throwing that southpaw killer, the right hand. You brought up a good point the last round, Joe. I mean, Lundy was having nothing but success from the southpaw position. He said, when's he going to turn orthodox? And he decides now, I guess he's thinking, I don't want Lopez to adjust to his southpaw position, but Lopez is having a little bit better time since Lundy did turn orthodox. He didn't have any good moments when Lundy was southpaw. Remember, Lundy, or I should say Lopez, did most of his sparring, most of his work in the gym with an orthodox fighter. He did a little with southpaws. They knew they might see one, so the trainer was smart enough to do that. But most of it was with orthodox guys. So when he sees Lundy in front of him as an orthodox guy, he's seeing what he saw in the gym for the most part.
He says, I know that.
Exactly.
I've been prepping for that.
I'm comfortable with that. And give credit to Julio Pena, Lopez's trainer, because they did put in some southpaws in training, knowing that Lundy would go to that side.
Lundy comes right off the ropes on the attack.
Well, that's the speed of Lundy coming back quick with the speed of his feet. He got back in position with his feet quick. Forget about the hands. We know the hands were there, but his feet got him there to deliver the hands. There's one big flaw with Lopez, and he's paid for it tonight. He stands too straight. A lot of times after he throws, he does that. He just stands straight up. Little cut in the corner of the right eye now of Lundy. We'll see if this changes things.
So now both men have been cut.
All of tonight's action has concluded.
There's one of Southern New England's favorite fighters, Peter Manfredo Jr., sitting ringside tonight. Vinny Paz, along with Mickey Ward, the heart and soul of the modern era of New England boxing. But how about Tony DeMarco, a hero in the north end of Boston, became welterweight champion of the world. Today, the 56th anniversary of Tony DeMarco winning the welterweight title.
And he became welterweight champ during an era when there was so many good fighters. And you know, the point I'm going to make is everyone talks about how well MMA is doing, mixed martial arts. And I think one of their secrets is a pretty simple formula. They make competitive fights. They let the best guys get in the ring with the best guys. DeMarco was around during one of those eras. The best guys got in with the best guys, and DeMarco faced a lot of them. And he had a heck of a left hook. And of course, Mr. Pazienza, Mr. Excitement, And Peter Manfredo, very popular here, did a terrific job in his career, still going on in his career. And all of them, good, solid people.
And Lopez and Lundy fighting in front of Paz and DeMarco. You better bring it with those guys looking on ringside. Tony DeMarco, of course, he won the title against Johnny Saxton, but best remembered for his spirited effort against Carmen Basilio.
Yeah, Basilio was a problem for DeMarco. He was, you know, DeMarco had that great left hook, but Basilio had that great concrete chin. And it caved, it cracked a little bit with that left hook of DeMarco. There was one fight where Basilio, he started to go down, he started to sit down, and then he said, nope, and he stopped, and he came back, and he wound up stopping DeMarco. But if it wasn't for that great chin of Basilio, he would have been a KO victim.
Lundy back to southpaw, looking to place that right jab.
Lundy feels he's acting like a guy who's ahead. Strolling around.
Lopez.
Yeah, gliding around the ring a little bit, trying to keep Lopez, who maybe is more physical, a little stronger, keep him on balance. Don't let him get set to use that physicality.
Distinct speed advantage with Hank Lundy. We're seeing that time and time again.
And no desperation in Lundy. There's going to start to be desperation in Lopez. It means that he's going to find something or he's going to run into something. But no desperation for Lundy. He knows he's ahead. He's playing a little defense and picking his spots for offense. You can do that when you're ahead. And there's the blood trickling out of the corner of the right eye of Lundy.
More pronounced here. It opened up in round number 5. Of course, Lopez has been dealing with a cut himself. There was a clash of heads that has started that swelling in that cut on the right cheek.
Mike Plebani, the man in charge of cuts in Lundy's corner, and Mark Vaz, the man for Lopez.
Lopez on the attack. That right hand split the guard that time.
Back in the Friday Night Fight studios, Mickey Ward, Dickie Eklund here, Brian Kenny here. Of course, Mickey, your thoughts on the fight right now?
I think it's a great fight. It's a very competitive fight. They're both fighting great. I think what Patrick Lopez has to do is he has to keep his hands up. He has to come out on angles when he goes. Don't come on strike. Teddy was saying don't come straight back, square up. He's got to come back on an angle. He's got to use that jab going in, jab coming out. Move your head more.
Dickie, you're the trainer. What do you say?
I think Patrick's getting more confident now. He's got to go in, and I see him. The way it's looking now, I see Patrick knocking him out. Early,
really?
If he keeps his right hand down low, Patrick's going to sleep. Right now, I believe Patrick's going to walk through him and beat him.
All right, Joe, Teddy, back to you guys.
Hey, Dickie Eklund says, watch out. Patrick Lopez can get this thing accomplished here. Of course, two of the great legends of New England boxing. And Lopez from Venezuela, but he's been fighting out of Londonderry, New Hampshire throughout his pro career, and he earns that 6th round on Teddy's scorecard. Of course, the 10-8 second round. A big hole early for Lopez.
Lundy has gone back to the lefty stance. I like what Lopez is doing this round. He's using the jab a little bit more to stabilize the quicker Lundy on the outside. You use no jab with a quicker guy, he sees you coming. And you don't have much of a chance.
Lundy with a jab right off that hip.
See, that's one of the problems with Lopez. He'll stand straight, he'll stand too tall, and he'll do it right in front of you, in punching range. If you're going to do that, step back a little bit. In other words, if you're not going to work, Joe, get out of range so your opponent can't work. Change the distance. Lopez doesn't always do that. He'll stand right up, right in front. And when he finishes punching, a lot of times he'll do that. He'll allow counters to come back because he'll stand there admiring his work.
ABC's NBA Sunday coverage is going to start with Buick Regal NBA Countdown at 12:30. Then we have the Suns and Spurs, followed by the Nuggets and Lakers at 3:30.
If I could give one thing to Lopez, you sure as heck don't have to give him any heart or any more experience. I would get him to bend once in a while, Joe. I mean, every time he gets caught, he's either waiting in front or he's straight up after a punch. Available. And as a fighter, one thing you don't want to be is available.
Saw the CompuBox numbers moments ago. Heard what Dickie Eklund had to say about Lopez's opportunity. And blood streaming down the right side of the face of Lundy. It's going to the outside edge of the eye.
This is a spot where Lopez has to be ready to cut the ring down. Lundy's probably going to move and use that ring a little bit. And he does. And that's where Lopez needed to be there. He needed to slide down and take that ring away. Take that escape route away from Lundy.
3 rounds to go. Let's get you up to speed as to what has transpired between Lopez and Lundy. Round number 2, Hank Lundy so fast, and that left hand to the chin of Lopez would score the knockdown. In round 3, the clash of heads, top of the head of Lundy, right on that cheekbone of Lopez. Then in the 5th round, Teddy, we noticed a cut opening up over Hank Lundy's right eye. Past couple of rounds, though, it seems like Lopez is more assured of things, that he feels that he can control things his way. Dug himself a hole early, but coming on late.
Yeah, I said early on, after some bad rounds for Lopez, after being dropped in the 2nd round, I think around the 3rd round, I said, don't count Lopez out of this. Still has his physical strength, still has his fighter's mentality, and he has some desperation in his career. Like I said, and like Dickie Eklund said, I think he's still in this fight, and I think the best is still to come, at least for Lopez.
Boy, really opening up there on those last 2 exchanges.
Lopez doing a better job of shrinking that ring.
He is cutting things down, trying to find Lundy.
See, now's the moment of truth. Lopez needs to slide to his right because Lundy's going to move that way probably.
Get away from that power hand.
And there Lundy goes to the right of Lopez, and Lopez needs to be a linebacker in football. Just slide down that line. Don't follow him. Slide over. Keep him in front of you. Keep the action going. And there's a well-timed southpaw right hook by Lopez. He ate a left hand after that, but a well-timed right hook by Lopez.
It was short, and it was compact, and it landed flush for Lopez.
And again, that's the experience from all these pro fights and 280 amateur fights. He can throw punches at the right time.
There's some thudding blows being landed here.
I'm starting to feel the strength. I don't know about you, Paul, but I'm starting to feel the strength difference of Lopez.
No doubt. The bigger man. There's a right hand to the body, Teddy, that you could hear. The bigger man is looking like the bigger man as this fight goes on. Can Lopez rally here? Lundy came out early, scored the knockdown, built the lead on the scorecard, but Patrick Lopez is getting after it.
And again, Lopez should be using that jab to stabilize Lundy, setting up those power shots, but don't forget the body. Don't forget the body of Lundy.
Remember,
take those wheels away a little bit.
It was this time in the fight against Molina when things started to turn against Lundy, round number 8. This has been an entertaining main event from here at Foxwoods. Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas, Claudia Trejos with you ringside. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard. Critical fight for both men at this stage of their career. First half of the fight, all Lundy, but that 10-8 round with the knockdown, now that puts Lopez in a position, as much as he's gained momentum, where he needs to do something special here. Needs something late to pull this one out, according to Teddy.
But he's doing the things he needs to do. Maybe he started too late, but he started. And he's making it very interesting. And he's making us where we're not liars. We said this would be an intriguing match.
Been enjoying having Irish Mickey Ward and Dickie Eklund in studio tonight. Of course, their movie, The Fighter, nominated for 7 Academy Awards. And we heard Dickie Eklund somewhere around round 6 say, I like Lopez by knockout. Who knows? Last 2 rounds here.
Well, if he does that, then Brian Kenny can say, who knew?
That's right.
Again, Lopez looking to time the quicker Lundy. He's just looking for the right spots where he can time him with something.
Here comes Lopez on the attack, trying to place that right hook.
Lopez has to do more body work. He cannot get tied up. Lundy can tie up on the inside. He's ahead. And maybe he should tie up. Be smart. Keep the stronger guy from doing anything. But that's what Lopez has to do. Keep those hands moving inside. Don't get tied up. And I think concentrate downstairs, then go upstairs.
Lundy meeting him with a little bit on the inside. There was a right hand to the body that landed. Lundy fires off. Left hand splitting the guard from Lopez. On the attack, he snapped back Lundy's head. Lundy throws off a series of a left and a right to the belt line by Lopez.
Again, you
fight
see
here in round 9.
the physical difference of these 2 fighters. The physical strength of Lopez. The only thing with Lopez is every once in a while when he's done, he straightens up. But right now, he has some control of the offense. See, there he gets caught again. That same mistake. He'll pull back.
Up.
Yep, pull back within the distance of a punch and straighten right up.
Good stuff here between Lundy and Lopez. Action-packed 9th round. They're going to have 1 to go to decide it.
Patrick, este es el último.
This is the last round, Patrick.
No, Patrick, no te descuides en este round.
Don't get
no me
careless
vayas
in
la
this
mano.
round.
Te no
Don't
puedes
put
tocar
your
bola en
hands
este
down.
round. ¿Me está escuchando?
You hear
Dame
me?
agua. ¿Me estás escuchando, Patricio?
Are you hearing me, Patrick?
Okay, ¿cómo te sientes?
Okay, how do you feel?
Okay, duro adentro. Yes, sir.
Inside. I want you inside.
Okay, Patrick.
Patrick,
Todo en esta vaina.
everything
vivo.
in this
No me dejes
round.
que ese hombre te golpee.
Don't leave
No
it
puedes cogerlo
on you. Give
Okay?
everything out this last round.
Duro con el jab.
Hard,
duro
hard with the
empujando,
jab.
Duro y para adentro y pam,
Get inside, get inside, bop, bop,
Okay?
bop.
Give everything, they say to Patrick Lopez and Hammer and Hank. What will he have left? Built up that lead early on, scored the knockdown in the second, but it's been Lopez coming on with momentum in the second half of this fight. 10th and final round from Foxwoods.
Good job of interpreting there by our own Saul Avalon.
He's not one-dimensional. He's not just a fight plan guy.
No, he's not. And right now, I think Lopez has to be one-dimensional, all offense.
That's what his corner told him. Give everything.
Again, I'd like to see the jab of Lopez just to stabilize and keep that from happening. So the jab could keep that pot shotting from happening with Lundy. And again, I want to see, if you're a fan of Lopez and you want to see him come back here in this last round, I want to see him cut the ring down and go to that body.
CompuBox numbers have Lopez now pulling ahead in total punches landed, 132 to 119. He needs to do more here in this 10th round, though. Lundy had that pot shot combination and shown some defense.
You know, Matt Schmeling, when he knocked out Joe Louis, the great Joe Louis, in the first fight, he said, I see something. I see something. I see something for Lopez. He can go downstairs to the body, set up Lundy a little bit, and then bend like he's going to the body and throw a left hand up top.
There's a right hand to the body. Now Lundy against the ropes. Just over 80 seconds to go. Can Lopez pull it out? Lundy's having not a bad round neutralizing things. There's a good right hand from Lundy.
And again, there's the defensive deficiencies of Lopez. After he throws, he doesn't move his head. He stands right in front.
Hammer and Hank may be winning this round here. Now he's picking his spots. Pot shot and landing that right hand.
Well, Hank's being smart, except there when he lays on the ropes, but he's being smart. He's letting his offense be part of his defense along with his legs. You know, he's moving, but he's also throwing in spots like that to keep Lopez honest.
Final 25 seconds. Can Lopez find him? And it's Lundy who comes back with a 1-2.
Lopez needs the Sunday punch, the big shot, and he's got to trick him to get it. I think he needs to bend downstairs and then go upstairs.
Desperation time for Lopez. Lundy firing back. They fight to the bell. That is a typical Fox Theater fight, folks. Welcome back. Over 3 years absent. That's a Foxwoods fight right there. Hank Lundy, Patrick Lopez. Good stuff tonight. Jimmy Birchfield, his promoter, saying that's the way you fight. Indeed it is. Momentum with Lopez in the second half. Lundy comes out and takes it right to the bell. Good job. Give them both credit. Lopez and Lundy. When we come back, we will hear from the judges on Friday Night Fights. Our main event, let's show you the CompuBox final punch numbers between Lopez and Lundy. 463 thrown by Lundy, 467 thrown by Lopez. Of course, the second round, the lone knockdown of the night, a 10-8 round for Lundy. Teddy's scorecard, the rally late. Lundy takes the 10th round, 96-93, says Teddy. Let's go up to the ring to Bill Carpenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of boxing for the NABF lightweight title, we go to the judges' scorecards for your official decision. Judge Bob Paolino scores the bout, 99-91. Judge Don Trella scores 97-92. And Judge Peter Harry scores the bout, 95-94. For your winner by unanimous decision, Hammerin' Hank Lundy.
That's a good, solid win by Hammerin' Hank.